General James Washington sat rigidly on the bus. It was a route he knew well, a journey he had taken countless times. But today, the air hung heavy with an unfamiliar tension. A group of young men sat across from him, their laughter laced with a malicious intent that sent a chill down his spine. He tried to ignore them, to focus on the world outside the window, but their words, sharp and cruel, cut through his defenses. They spoke of a time gone by, a time he thought he had left behind, a time when his skin color was a weapon wielded against him. General Washington closed his eyes, his chest constricting with each hateful word. He had faced battles, stared down enemies, and stood tall in the face of danger. But this was different. This was a battle fought not on the battlefield, but in the quiet corners of his heart. He felt a deep weariness settle over him, a fatigue that ran deeper than any physical exhaustion. He was a soldier, a protector, a leader, but at that moment he felt stripped bare, vulnerable to the insidious poison of prejudice. Years of service to his country flashed before his eyes. The medals he had earned, the sacrifices he had made, the battles he had fought, all seemed to fade in the face of such blatant disrespect. A wave of anger surged through him, hot and fierce, but he swallowed it down, forcing himself to remain calm. Confrontation, he knew, would only escalate the situation. It would validate their hatred, give them the satisfaction of seeing him break. So he sat there, silent and still, his face a mask of indifference. But beneath the surface, a storm raged. He was a warrior, yes, but he was also a man weary of fighting, weary of constantly having to prove his worth, to defend his right to exist in a world that seemed determined to diminish him. He had hoped that times had changed, that the world had moved on from its hateful past. But the venomous words spewed by the young men on the bus served as a stark reminder that the battle for equality was far from over. Across the aisle, a young black woman named Sarah watched the scene unfold. Her heart ached for the elderly gentleman, his silence speaking volumes. She knew that silence, the silence born of years of enduring such indignities, of choosing peace over confrontation. But Sarah had had enough. She had grown up hearing stories of her ancestors, of their struggles and sacrifices. She refused to let their fight be in vain. She would not sit idly by while a hero, a man who had dedicated his life to protecting her freedom, was subjected to such vile treatment. That's enough. Sarah's voice, though soft, cut through the tense atmosphere like a siren. All eyes turned to her, surprise etched on their faces. The young men, taken aback by her sudden outburst, fell silent. Their smirks, however, remained. "Do you even know who you're talking to?" Sarah continued, her voice trembling with indignation. "This man is a veteran, a hero who risked his life for this country, and you sit here disrespecting him in such a cowardly way." Section 4. Echoes of the past, seeds of the present. Sarah's words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of history. Passengers shifted uncomfortably in their seats, suddenly aware of the gravity of the situation. The young men, their bravado faltering, mumbled something about it just being a joke. But Sarah wasn't having any of it. "A joke?" she scoffed. "Is hatred a joke? Is bigotry something to be laughed about?" Her words resonated with the other passengers, some of whom nodded in agreement. The bus driver, alerted to the commotion, pulled over. He had seen enough of this kind of behavior in his years on the job. He would not tolerate it on his bus. He stood up, his face a mask of authority. "That's enough," he said firmly. "I'm calling the police. This kind of behavior is unacceptable." The young men, realizing the seriousness of the situation, tried to protest, but it was too late. The seeds of justice had been sown. Section 5. Justice served, a community united. The arrival of the police officers brought a sense of relief to the tense atmosphere. Sarah, still shaken but resolute, recounted the incident, her voice strong and clear. The officers listened patiently, their expressions grave. When she was finished, they turned to the young men, their gaze unwavering. The young men, their earlier bravado completely gone, mumbled excuses and denials, but their words fell on deaf ears. The evidence was clear and the witnesses were many. They were arrested and escorted off the bus, their faces pale with fear and shame. News of the incident spread like wildfire through the community. Outrage and disgust were the prevailing sentiments. People were appalled that such blatant racism still existed, especially towards a man who had given so much for his country. The local news crew arrived, eager to cover the story. Sarah, hailed as a hero, bravely shared her experience, her voice filled with a righteous anger that resonated with viewers across the city.